What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with my NFL Week 2 power rankings. In this one, you'll see where I have everybody for the preseason rank and where they fall after Week 1. As you can see here, Steelers and Browns, two teams in the AFC North, are going two different directions after a big win in Week 1 and after an ugly loss at home. At 29 through 32, you got the Panthers pretty much expected, Giants, Commanders, and even the Broncos here. Some teams rebuilding young quarterbacks. Besides the Giants, they're just in a full rebuild. It was what it feels like. And those two teams play each other, actually, the Giants and Commanders in week two. Bottom teams battling for their first win. And then you got the Broncos at home against the Steelers and the Panthers at home against the Chargers. Hopefully, the Panthers can turn it around. Bryce Young needs to prove it here sooner rather than later if they really want to stick with him. And Bo Nix played pretty well, I guess. I mean, nothing crazy. It's nothing he's going to remember in his first career start. But, if he can play a little better this week against the Steelers, there'll be some hope there that he can turn it around in the middle of the season. 25 through 28. Cardinals, tough loss on the road in Buffalo. If they would have won that game, they'd probably be a top 16 team right now. Definitely competitive, and that's why I didn't move them down at all. They definitely have a chance to beat the Rams. They're favored by one, especially with the Rams injuries. Raiders at 26, loss against the Chargers on the road. It was a good game until late. They just couldn't stop J.K. Dobbins. And now you got a tough task of trying to stop Henry and Lamar after he just got gashed by Dobbins. Not a good game plan last week, so maybe they can change things up this week. Titans pretty much gifted the Bears the win, the punt return touchdown, I think pick six or fumble return six, whatever. I think it was pick six from Levis. They had that game won until they just didn't want to win that one. So I didn't move them down either. I think it was just a bad two games right there. Get the Jets at home in their home opener. Then the Patriots. I can't move them up too much. They did beat the Bengals on the road week 1, but you can't overreact too much. And I know some of these CBS, ESPN, those bigger market, power rankings that they put out, they overreact, put teams up 11 spots. It's week 1 here. You can still have a fluke win every now and then, and it's only week 1, so I'm not going to jump to too many conclusions. But if the Patriots win this week at home against the Seahawks, then I'm going to be for real and move that team up. Now, 21 through 24, all these teams could be anywhere at this point. Saints big win against the Panthers. It wasn't, I don't want to say too surprising, but putting up 47 is a lot in the NFL. Now they go into Dallas to face them in a tough game. Derek Carr looked elite. And, maybe the Saints could be that sleeper team that no one really saw after last year's performance. Who knows? You got the Bears at 22, moving up one, like I said, kind of got gifted a win against Tennessee at home. Caleb Williams gets to go on the road in Houston, a night game. That's going to be a great game on national television. Deshaun Watson didn't show up. The whole team didn't show up until Jerome Ford, garbage time touchdown. And then they get the Jaguars actually at 24. So that's going to be a big game for both these teams early out. No one wants to start 0-2. Obviously, no one wants to start 0-1, but no one wants to start 0-2. And for the Jags, they kind of had that game won as well. And then Tyreek took over for one play to really kind of seal that deal. And then they lost at the buzzer as well on a game-winning field goal. So the Jags really had that one won, but just couldn't close it out as they looked possibly right in the ship this week. 17 through 20, Vikings big win against the Giants. It was kind of, I don't want to say kind of expected, but definitely didn't see them winning by 22. They get the Niners at home in a tough challenge. The Colts lost a heartbreaker against Houston, and then they go to Green Bay this week, which should be a good game. Same thing, both 0-1. No one wants to go 0-2. But Anthony Richardson looked good. Jonathan Taylor looked good. Alec Pierce had one great catch. So the Colts, I think, could be a dynamic team, possibly fighting for a wild card spot at the end of the year. Falcons, disappointing loss in my eyes. I know 10 points isn't what they dreamed of in Kirk Cousins' first game as a Falcon. It was the Steelers, and you got to look at the positives here. They held the Steelers to 0 touchdowns and lost this game. And if the Falcons can figure out how to score some more points, the defense is going to be very good. They're going to get a lot of wins that way. And they go into Philly this week in, I don't want to say a big game, but starting 0-2 in that NFC South is never a good sign, just because of the talent there, besides the Panthers. And then the Seahawks getting that win against the Broncos, big win there in the head coaching debut of Coach McDaniel. They get the Patriots in Arrowhead in Gillette Stadium. And if they can go in there, start 2-0 on the season, the Seahawks, Geno and the Seahawks might have his boys possibly contending for an NFC West title in week 14, 15, and those Niners, could be on the lookout for them. 13 through 16, Jets, Packers, Bengals, Rams. All of these teams suffering losses last week, and Jets disappointing. Rodgers obviously healthy after one game, so that's great, great news there. Where the Packers, Jordan Love is not healthy, sprained MCL. Who knows how long he is out for? And it could be this week. Maybe he's out. He's trying to push to play this week, but it's early in the season. I would probably at least give him a week or two. Probably week 4, I would shoot for if I was Jordan Love and the Packers, just to play it safe. The Bengals, I don't know what to say about them, but they need to right the ship quick against the Chiefs. If they lose, 0-2, start the year, it could spiral downhill for those Bengals. And then the Rams, tough luck in OT. Puka's on IR or already for the first 4 games. They lost 3 of their starting offensive linemen. I mean, the Rams, it's not looking good here for them to start the year. They went from one of the best offensive lines, like Dan Orlovsky said, to possibly one of the worst now because you're already on all your backups. A few of the top 10 here, we got 9 through 12. Ravens, Bucks, Chargers, and Steelers. The Ravens fall after their heartbreaking loss to the Chiefs, not out of the top 10, but just down to the bottom. The Bucks move into the top 10 with their big win against the Commanders, scoring 37. Chargers and Steelers just shy of the top 10 with wins as well. And I think you can take away, like I said, the Steelers, 6 field goals. Chris Boswell carried the team here for the Steelers. Unless you want to talk about TJ Watt, obviously one of the best defensive players in the league. He was a game wrecker in this one, and he's going to go look to do the same thing in Denver. Chargers, Jim Harbaugh gets his first win. J.K. Dobbins stole the show in this one, having a big game. And they go into Carolina, which, should be an easier game for them. Then the Bucks, I think the game in Detroit is going to show a lot for me. Obviously, they got eliminated by the Lions last year in Detroit. And if the Bucks can go in there, I'm not saying win the game, but play a competitive game, kind of like the Rams did. It goes to the end. I think the Bucks are still going to be a really good team this year, regardless. But I'm kind of hoping they can maybe pull off an upset, just because I think this team really has a chip on their shoulder this year. They brought everyone back, and I think they could be that sleeper team in the NFC, at least after week 1, maybe a little bit overreaction. They could possibly contend and be that team that, I don't want to say nobody saw coming, but would go farther than expected. And then the Ravens, they're down here because possibly of a toe, because Isaiah likely couldn't keep it in bounds on 4th down there to end the game. And they played great. Derrick Henry usage was questioning. But going into week 2 against the Raiders, I think they're going to run the ball a ton at home after they just got gashed, like I said earlier. The Raiders did. So maybe the Ravens game plan this week is just going to run the ball for about 80%. In 5 through 8, you got the Texans, the Bills, the Eagles, and the Dolphins all getting wins last week. And not really much changing here. Obviously, just some teams moving up just because of those teams that were higher up moving down. Texans, good win on the road. Bills coming back in a big win there against the Cardinals. Eagles in Brazil get a win against the Packers. And then the Dolphins winning at the end against the Jaguars. The Dolphins, tough task week 2 in Buffalo, or sorry, against Buffalo in Miami. And, Miami has the edge there in Miami because it's hot. Buffalo, it seems like they don't play well, but then when Miami goes to any cold weather, it's not looking well for them. So maybe give Miami the edge here. Thursday night football, going to be a great game. The Eagles, they get the Falcons. You're going to have to stop Kirk Cousins and Bijan, but I think that defense will be a little better from last week, scoring 29, giving up 29 points, and Jayden Reed just taking over. I think the Eagles are going to have to shore up their defense a little bit. The Bills are going to have to figure out a way to stop Tyreek. As long as they got Josh Allen, James Cook, I think they're going to be all right. Josh Allen will get the ball out to some receiver, whoever it is, and they'll do their job. And then the Texans, Bears, going to be a night game, national television. I mean, Texans and Bears, I think 3 years ago, if you said that's going to be a big game, nationally televised, I don't think anybody would believe you, but here we are. And it really could come down to a Stroud, Caleb Williams battle. Now, 1 through 4, you get the Chiefs, the Niners, and the Cowboys and Lions, all with wins last week against some better teams, especially the Chiefs and the Niners. Chiefs winning by 7 against the Ravens on Thursday Night Football to kick off the year. Niners, Monday Night Football, get a big win against the Jets, the Jake Moody show, even without McCaffrey. Cowboys just do everything right against the Browns. And then the Lions storm back in an overtime win. This team really had the lead for most of the game. The Lions did until the 4th, kind of gave it away, game tying field goal to send it to OT, win the coin toss, and just run the ball every single play in overtime to get that win. And like I said, against the Bucks, that's going to be a challenging game. Like the Rams, chip on their shoulder. You got eliminated last year from that team. So I think the Bucks are going to come in there and give them a game. Saints, if they can play like they did last week, that Cowboys Saints game could be a shootout. I don't think it's going to be, but I think the Cowboys do have a little bit of a tougher challenge on their hands than they think. Same with the Niners. I think going into Minnesota for the home opener, it's going to be a tough one, and I don't think too many people realize that. Is Sam Darnold with that offense is going to be very good because what we saw Kirk Cousins last year do, Jaron Hall even, he stepped in and played all right. You know, the interceptions was the big thing, and if Darnold can limit his interceptions this year, he's going to have a very good year in Minnesota. So that's going to be a tough test for the Niners to slow down that offense. And I don't think you would ever thought slowing down Sam Darnold would be in the same sentence. But again, here we are. And then, of course, the Chiefs at number one get the Bengals at home. Burrowhead is what the Bengals like to call it, but they can't beat them in the playoffs. Looking to really spoil some team seasons early on here, possibly send the AFC North, at least who they're playing, to 0-2 to start the year. And the Chiefs obviously 2-0. Maybe this Chiefs team, all they needed was a few more weapons on the outside, especially Xavier Worthy. He really took over in that first game. And if that's the case, man, this Chiefs team is going to be a powerhouse and possibly could do that three-time back-to-back-to-back championship if everyone can stay healthy. That's going to be it from our week 2 power rankings. Check back next week to see where your team ranks.